Coming to you almost live from the Herbert I. Greenberg Studios at WHIG, it's Up Late with Sam Bass.
Thank you, Scott Smith. It's great to hear your voice again after this long hiatus we've been on. We took some time off for the holidays, and while it was refreshing, I have to say I really miss doing this show every week. It made for a really good excuse for an extra glass of bourbon every night. New year, new episodes, same old me. Cheers. By the way, have y'all heard of dry January? Believe it or not, there are actually people out there that choose to abstain from alcohol for an entire month, which some of us would refer to that as, why the hell would you do that, January? I'm only kidding. I commend anyone who has the power to abstain from alcohol for an entire month. I've actually done it myself, and I would try it again. But you know, drinking is kind of a job requirement of mine. They force me to do this, totally against my will. So, while we were out on our hiatus, our production team was discussing ideas for the show and what was the most important thing we needed to look at going into our second season. And they came up with a list. I'm going to read it on the air tonight. I haven't seen it. This list has been placed in a hermetically sealed envelope. Hermetically sealed, if there's such a thing. So I'm going to read it right now. Opening the hermetically sealed envelope. Keep in mind, I have not seen this. This is what my staff has come up with that's going to make our show better for the year. Okay. Here they are. Number 5. We should think about getting Sam a hairpiece. Hey, is that really one of the most important things? My hairdresser, Melinda, will tell you that my personality is so big that no one notices my hair or the lack of it. Maybe I don't think my hair is that important. Look out, Jamie. Number 4. We should think about getting Sam a sidekick. Maybe, maybe not. I actually kind of like this one. It might or might not be a good idea. I don't know. So if anyone out there is interested in being my sidekick, and who wouldn't want to be? Perhaps my guest tonight would want to be, but I wouldn't want him. Email us, text us, message us, Facebook us, Skype us. What's the other one? X us. That didn't make any sense. Used to be Twitter. Let us know. I need all the help I can get. Number 3. Is it too late to turn this into a more respectable show like Check It Out? I think that ship has sailed. Look out, Jamie. Number 2. Can we convince Will Ferrell to reschedule again? Again, y'all might remember we have had Will Ferrell scheduled to come on the show a couple times. You know, and every time we run out of time for him. Last time he seemed pretty angry.
What is this, amateur hour?
See? He's not returning my calls, not returning my messages. So if anyone out there knows Will Ferrell, tell him we're sorry. Tell him to reach out to us and we will reschedule him as soon as possible. Maybe we can get a special hour-long episode for him. You know, Greg Fishel got an hour, and Greg Fishel and Will Ferrell are kind of both up there together. Greg Fishel, Will Ferrell, we'll see. All right. Number 1. Now the number 1 most discussed item discussed behind my back, that is, we're going to need a bigger liquor budget. Definitely. We actually need a liquor budget, Sandra. So, moving on. So during the break, I had some time on my hands to think about my life. Things I regret saying, some things I don't regret saying. My mind kept going back to one particular person, someone I think you all may know and may or may not love. I know I use this guy as a punching bag a lot on the show, but he's really a great guy. Do I have to say that? Anyway, I've decided, I wrote a little poem about him. Would y'all like to hear it? Look at that response. Okay, here it is. Where'd I put it? Here it is. Here's the poem. You're in for a real treat, folks. Okay. There lives a fellow named Check who would probably like to wring my neck. When my show comes on, it's time for booze. But when his show comes on, it's time to snooze. I know I've thrown him a jab on the verbal sort, but he's proven to be a pretty good sport. Although he'll never admit that I'm the man, I know deep down that he's my biggest fan. And so, dear John, I wish you luck. You're not so bad for a grumpy old...
Don't stop on my count.
John, Check, what are you doing here?
I came to defend myself.
Okay, well, sit down and we will talk about it.
Yes, sir, I will.
John Check, ladies and gentlemen, in person. I've never really seen him in person. I've only seen him on TV. He's very elusive. So
That's me, Dr. Elusive.
that's you. That's you. I'm sitting here with John Check. Can you believe it? John, thank you so much for coming on the show finally.
Well, finally, I came when you invited me.
So,
I don't blame you for waiting, so
well,
long to invite me.
yeah, I was a little afraid of you actually.
Should be.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. So let me ask, let's talk about your show.
All right,
Check it out.
check it out.
You got all these people coming on and say, check it out, check it out, check it out.
Well,
Right.
I named it that, and I thought it was a dumb enough name that it would stick. And I actually tried to convince Sandra that we wouldn't use that name. She said, no, you got to use that name. And I hear check it out probably 25, 30 times a day from some source or another. Just,
I can imagine. Well, we've banned that from our show.
I don't blame you.
We don't say it.
I
In
appreciate
fact, we have a drinking game. If somebody says check it out, they have to drink it home.
Well, I really appreciate that because any publicity is not always good publicity. And
Cheers.
I appreciate that more than you realize.
So what made you want to start doing your show?
Well, when I ran for office, as you might recall, back in 18 and did not win, I thought, well, I need to keep my name out there a little bit, and decided that I would do that. I came to see Sandra, and Sandra said, how are you going to pay for it? First words. I said, well, I'll find some sponsors, and really had no trouble finding sponsors. As a matter of fact, I had more sponsors than we needed initially, and I've been very fortunate. The sponsors that I have now have been with me mostly from the start, and it's just been fun. I thought, well, what I'll do, my goal was to do it for eight or 10 weeks and then just let it die. But at the time when I got on that roll, if you will, a lot of the things that were happening on the Rocky Mount City Council became public, and they became public on my show. One of the guys who dug deep and found some stuff that needed to go public came on the show and went public with it. And we went from nobody hearing who in the heck is this show to being one of their lead shows in like a month. So it really,
Which, of course, we've overtaken that. But
well, I'm certain of that. I know that people my age and your age stay up way late in order to watch your show.
well, I record your show because I have insomnia, so I will put it on at night before I go to bed.
Well, I think that's a smart move. Either that or the church service I have.
I love that.
You can no-dose on that one too.
I'm going to get into that in a minute. Well,
All right.
I do love that. So I was at Sal's one day and I saw you across the room, and I'm like, we need to talk. I need a nemesis for my show.
I remember that.
And what a better nemesis than John Check.
Well, I can applaud you for that decision. I think my name could only help your show.
Yeah. Yes, that is so true. So I want to reverse. We were on, Jamie and I were on your show.
That's right.
Check it out. Probably the #1 rated show you ever had. And
if not, it was certainly somewhere near the top of my.
Yeah, well, probably because
podcast.
of Jamie, not me.
Well, that goes without saying.
Yeah, of course. But I recall a story about you meeting Tom Landry. Tell me that story.
We were doing a video project in Dallas on leadership, and we had a new president of the seminary, and he was an awful speaker. And he had written a book, and he insisted he had to do this show. And we decided that Landry was on the board of directors, and we reached out to him. He'd written a book on leadership, and we wanted to have him do some excerpts in it to kind of give it some life. And we went out to his headquarters, and he booked his day in 7-minute increments because it took 7 minutes to walk from the sidelines of his practice field to his desk to eat lunch. And he gave us 5 or 6 7-minute segments, and he did it in one take. And in this one take move, it was mind-blowing how good he is. I mean, just as a human being as well as nailing this one take thing. So I stood up and took my handheld video camera and said, "Coach, I'd like an autograph from my brother-in-law who lives in North Carolina, who's a diehard Cowboy fan." And he just said, "Great." He said, "I'm Tom Landry, Dallas Cowboys. Appreciate you pulling for us, et cetera, et cetera." Before he could get up, he's like this. I went, "Oh, wait, I have one more." And everybody in the room just died laughing. Who would do this to Coach Landry? Well, I got a second video autograph for a nephew who's getting ready to go play college football. Well, then about a week later, I had major elbow surgery, big time, 4 hours. And I was at a banquet. He was at the banquet. It was for the senior leadership of the seminary. And we walked out together, and I had this big honking cast on my arm. He said, "Well, John, how'd you break your arm?" I said, "Coach, I hit a fat 3-iron." And that's true. He said, "John, I didn't know golf was a contact sport." And his wife, beautiful, elegant lady, just punched him in the ribs with an elbow that probably would have sent me flying and said, "Tom." Well, from then on, when he was on campus, and he was on campus a lot during the off season, and I'm a big, tall guy, and he would see me across the campus, and he'd wait, "Hey, John, how you doing, buddy?" And all my friends like, how do you know this guy? So it's kind of fun experience for me.
That's very cool. Now, recently, I don't know if y'all saw him, but he was on the morning show, and he wore a Dallas Cowboy sweatshirt.
I did that for you.
Just to poke fun at me because he knows I hate him.
How about them Cowboys, huh?
But I will say, back in the day when Tom Landry was the coach, it was a different time.
Oh, yeah.
They were a classier organization than they are now.
Well, you know what they say now, what you say to a Dallas Cowboy player wearing a coat and tie.
What?
Would the defendant please rise? Sorry.
That is so true. So I want to talk about, you've got a book here you've written, and this one actually, folks, is autographed to me. I feel so privileged. This is more of a pamphlet than a book. Well, just kidding, it's not.
I appreciate that too. If you'll read it, rumor has it you don't read books.
I'll get somebody to read it to me.
Okay.
It's called A Memoir from Rookie to Retiree. A Methodist Minister Tells Us the Truth by Dr. John M. Check.
Well, I had fun writing it.
Well, tell me a little bit about what inspired you to write it, and tell me I just got it today, so I haven't had a chance to read it, but I promise you I will. Tell me a little about that. What I can look forward to.
Well, I wrote the book basically because I felt like it would be the idea of teaching. It's a teaching tool, if you will. And I blend stories with it because, stories are what people remember. A preacher can preach the same text week in, week out.
Right.
And if the stories change, people don't understand that the text is the same because they listen to stories.
Right.
And it's filled with stories, things that I've experienced in my journey over the years, and also there's some teaching stuff in there as well. So that's why I did it. And I really wanted to bring out the best of some of the churches I've served and talk candidly about some of the challenges I faced as a minister. And
well, speaking of being a minister, believe it or not, every Sunday I watch you. 11 o'clock on WHIG, watch his sermon because it's great. I really mean that.
Thank you.
And there's a story you touched on during one of your sermons that I wanted to ask you about.
All right.
You were teaching a class at Wesleyan,
Uh-huh.
and it's about judging a book by the cover.
Oh, boy, what a great story that is.
Please tell it.
Well, I was teaching a Religion 101 class. It was a 8 o'clock class or 8:30 class, and week after week, this, I call him a knucklehead, would come in, had all this bling on, had baggy pants, and he walked across, he'd walk right in front of me, right across the room, and he could sit over by the door and not disturb anybody, but he just wouldn't do that. He'd walk all the way across the room, plop in his chair, and open his book. And he always came in 5 to 10 minutes late. And I thought, what a knucklehead. Well, then one of our first assignments was to write out your spiritual journey, talk about your life and your understanding of God in Christ. And he wrote a story that just brought me to tears. And I realized that I had prejudged this guy in a very unfair way based on how he looks. And, you know, for heaven's sake, John, I know the scripture says God looks on the heart, we look on the outside. And I was embarrassed by that, by my attitude, if you will. And then several years later, did I tell this? Several years later, I bumped into him at a restaurant here in Rocky Mount. And he'd graduated from the school, and he got up out of his chair, came over to my table, and I stood up to shake his hand. And he gave me a hug and said, thank you for being such a wonderful professor. I learned more in your class, and I just really, really enjoyed your class. And I was blown away by him even doing that, first of all. And I certainly didn't feel worthy of it based on how I'd reacted to him initially. But I learned a lot that day. I learned a lot that day.
Well, you know, it just goes to prove you cannot judge a book by the cover.
Don't judge that book by the cover either, by the way.
Okay, I won't. It looks like a good book, it really does, and I can't wait to read it. But I will tell y'all, the thing about John's sermon I really enjoy, he blends everyday life with the scripture, which is great.
Yeah.
And I really do appreciate it. We watch him every Sunday. I really do. I'm not just lying. So I'm going to get into something. We're going to change gears a little bit. So our crack research team.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you ran
Your
for
research team on crack? Is that what you?
Yes. You ran for office a while back. We found out that you did not complete the Ballotpedia survey.
Oh, really?
That's what they found out.
Huh, how about that?
They, not me. So we decided to survey ourselves
I know where this is going.
and ask you a few questions here on the show.
All right.
It's important for voters to know who you are in case you ever decide to run again.
Well, that's not going to happen, but go ahead with your bad self here.
Okay, I need some short answers, so we're probably running close on time here.
All right, you got short answers.
What areas of public policy are you personally passionate about?
Public policy,
Public policy.
I would say defending our borders.
Okay, I agree. Okay, number 2. What are the main points you want voters to remember about you and your candidacy?
I worked hard. I knocked on 9,500 doors in Nash County. I wore out a pair of shoes knocking on doors, and I just really learned a lot from that experience. I gained far more from that than I gave. I learned so much from the people of Nash County.
Very good. Have you ever had a speeding ticket?
Yes.
I'm not surprised. I've had a lot of them myself.
The last one I had was in 1977.
I wasn't even born then, folks. Yes, I was.
Yeah. You need a little more of that. You won't care if you were born.
So here's a good one. Would you rather eat dinner at a fancy restaurant with Joe Biden or lunch at McDonald's with Donald Trump?
Lunch at McDonald's.
I knew that. That's a no-brainer right there.
My reason for that is Joe Biden wouldn't remember me when he walked out of the restaurant. I'd be wasting my time.
No question about that. So one more question.
All right.
This is very important.
You got it.
Our friendship could hinge on this answer.
Okay. I didn't realize our friendship was that shallow, but go ahead and take it.
It is. Do you like pickleball? Be honest.
I've never played.
Okay.
I like the concept. And the reason I like
What's the concept mean?
Well, the concept is old guys like you can go out there without hurting themselves and have fun.
I got you. I hate pickleball.
Do you?
I do. I'm starting an anti-pickleball league as we speak.
I like that.
So we're going to move past that. So our crack research team has found a few pictures I'm going to ask you about.
All right.
People don't like it, but I point a lot.
I can handle it.
Okay. So I want to ask you what you're doing in these pictures. The first one, you had some car trouble, it looks like. Was that you changing a tire?
Well, actually, I was showing off picking up a car. You know, back in the day, Volkswagen.
What are you, Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes. Volkswagen Beetles, the engine's in the back. And I
Right.
was showing off picking up the front of this car, and the next
The
day,
light part of it.
yeah, and the next day I had terrible back spasms and ended up, couldn't stand up, and a friend thought I was playing around, and he put his knee in my back and stood me up, and 20 minutes later I was at Forsyth Hospital in the emergency room. So, yeah.
Okay.
That Volkswagen you probably will show is the original Volkswagen, and that was taken at a 50th class reunion.
Yeah. Well, that's cool that you can lift up a Volkswagen. Maybe I need to lighten up on you a little bit.
Well, you don't want to duke it out with me.
I don't?
No.
Okay. Okay, so I have no words for the next one. It speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think that does truly speak for itself. You know what I was thinking when I was doing that one? I was thinking one day I'll be on your show.
That's it. Wrong picture.
Yeah, I was thinking one day I'll
See, I told y'all.
One day I'll be on your show, and this was my gift to you.
And so I've got one more. Is this next picture a Joe Biden Halloween costume?
And which picture are you showing?
This one.
No, I was celebrating Memorial Day, and I have been an avid bicyclist since I was 38 years old, and I've logged in approximately 85,000 miles on a bicycle. So I really ride every chance I get. This is Memorial Day. My salute to the flag.
Did you fall off your bike like Biden did?
I've been knocked off my bike by a motorist, and I've had a gun waved in my face. I've had marbles thrown at me. I've had a beer bottle chucked at me. I've been dog bit twice, all in the name of fun.
Daggone. John, what is the deal with this picture?
Well, you know, I like jalapeno peppers.
I know that.
And I think that picture was probably taken the night we went out to eat when you were coming on my show.
It is?
And I think your administrative assistant, your boss, the production,
The brains.
yeah, dared me to do this. And I ate a big jalapeno pepper, and I think I hiccuped a time or two. It was hot, but I love them.
I know that. I found that out that night.
Yeah.
Hey, look, thanks again, John. Really appreciate you joining us. I want to tell you, every Thursday night at 10 o'clock, join us right here on WHIG. Next week, Linda Loveland, somebody who's a lot better looking than this guy, will be sitting right here. Hey, I want to thank my good friend John Check for joining us this week. Next week, we've got a very special guest, and she's actually about as tall as John and a lot better looking, Linda Loveland. So join us every Thursday night at 10 o'clock right here on WHIG. See you soon.